Well, hello, my little beauties. It's David Connolly here with another bedtime story for web developers. A few years ago, I was chatting to my friend Derek McLean, the great developer Derek McLean, who is brilliant, much better than me, And we were talking about how those agency gigs are pretty high paying, Have you seen them lately? And we were like, man, this looks incredible, And we noticed that there was an explosion of these short-term IT contracts that were very, very high paying, in terms of you get this awesome daily amount. As a matter of fact, I even noticed one recently that was paying $1,000 a day, doing the conversion. So there's some awesome gigs. And I remember saying to Derek, man, it'd be kind of interesting to try one of those, maybe that would be cool. You get to do things and see people and everything, and obviously the money's cool. And I remember saying, I'm gonna try and get one of those gigs, So I had a look around, found one, I don't know where, but somewhere online. And I phoned up the employment agency, It's always employment agencies doing this kind of thing. And they were like, okay, so can you send in your CV, your curriculum vitae? I says, no, I can't. And they said, why? And I said, because my life is my CV. And they said, look, we can't put you forward unless you've got a CV. This is ridiculous, blah, 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 blah. But, I knew that if I could just get in the interview room, I knew that I would get hired, right? Because I have the techniques, the highpaiddeveloper.com techniques. I knew that if I could just get in the interview room, that would be it, So I used a few Jedi mind tricks and whatnot. Eventually, I got the interview, and it was this very glamorous lady, maybe about 45 years old, and with her, the other person interviewing was a kind of classic IT geek, maybe some dude in his early 40s or late 30s or something like that. Anyway, we did the interview, and it was a foregone conclusion, of course, and I landed the gig, and it was over in Motherwell. And here in the UK, the government are always investing really heavily in these remote places that are not the major cities, So in Motherwell, there's a big business park, and it's all glass and futuristic, a really fantastic place. I think it's called Euro Central or something. I mean, even the name was awesome. So I turn up, and it's this incredible office, and there's various people running about and all that, and there's an IT team. And what they were doing was a website for a football manager, right? This football manager from a club in the UK, kind of a well-known club, Celtic, and the vibe is that the manager wanted to leave, Of course, this wasn't in the press or anything, but apparently Neil Lennon wanted to leave for a while, and in an attempt to try and land a gig with one of the big, the bigger teams, wherever that may be, I don't know about football. The vibe was some genius came up with the idea, well, let's do a Neil Lennon website, yay, And there was a gazillion Neil Lennon t-shirts and cups and calendars and everything, And I have to laugh. Look, I have nothing against the dude. I don't know him or anything. But there are certain types of people that should not be on calendars, And the whole thing was just a bit ridiculous. I mean, I'm not being too slagging. He kind of looks a bit like me, do you know what I mean? But it was just a bit mad. The whole thing was a bit mad. Anyway, I turned up, did that. They were using some shopping cart app. I don't know what it was. It might have been Magento or something like that. Who knows? And it was horrible. And nobody knew what was going on. And this was in October. And the gal who had interviewed had told me that she had an IT team before, and the IT team had messed up. So now she's got a new team in, and they were really, really desperate. They were so desperate that the other guy that they hired the vibe was like, do you know anyone else who does Photoshop? And he was like, well, my wife does, and actually she just dropped me off. Maybe I could phone her. And they were like, no, bring your wife in. She's employed, So the guy's wife's in here and she's turning up like, what? Sit here? I mean, this is how crazy it was, just total chaos. And they were good people, by the way. And we keep in touch. And they were really, really cool people. Everybody there was really cool. And, well, everybody but one. And you'll hear about that in a second. So it ended up, the folks came in and whatnot. And the gal that had came in for the Photoshop gig, who's dropping her husband off for an interview, well, she hadn't used Macs before. And it was all Apple Macs everywhere. And she'd be kind of coming up and saying, could you tell me how to, do this or do that? And I'd be like, yeah, cool. And I'd show them. And then the PHP guy would do likewise. Can you tell me how to? And, I'm not showing off, but there was pretty much a queue of people coming saying, could you show us how to? Could you show us how to? And I'd be kind of showing them, but trying to hide and stuff. Like, there you go. There's how you do it, and it was ridiculous. So by the end of day one or day two, I can't remember, there was pretty much a mass walkout because everybody was like, we can't handle this pressure, this place is too insane and everything. And in any event, that guy's doing everything anyway, meaning me, right? And I was never a great technical web developer, but I had been top of Google for website repairs for years, and I was good at fixing stuff, I don't know anything about polymorphism, I don't know, but I was good at fixing stuff and just kind of getting things done. So eventually most of them all left, but there was still, the IT manager and that. And in fact, I managed to land a job for Derek, my friend, because they were like, we're going to need an IT tech guy. Is that what they call them? Technicians, the characters that do the cables and the networks and all that. And so I was phoning Derek saying, hey man, they need somebody to do the tech. He said, yeah, well, do you want me to mention you? Oh, okay. So I landed him a job there. And it was ridiculous because Derek is a web developer and a brilliant web developer. And so I ended up in this ridiculous situation where I'm building the thing, and Derek McLean, contributor of the Zend framework, probably the best developer in the country, he's nicking about on his hands and knees, like doing the cables and stuff. It was just totally bizarre, And that was the vibe. And then eventually, when the team were out of the way, I got a hold of the boss character, the glamorous lady, and I was like, this cart software is not really up to the job. And she was like, I know. And she's telling me about it. And Neil Lennon's coming in and he's going crazy because his websites, the calendars are piling up, whatever. And I said, look, why don't you just let me build the thing in CodeIgniter? I've done loads of shots before and it's fast and easy and blah, blah, blah. I'll make it look exactly the same as this. It'll be exactly the same to the pixel. Just let me do the thing with CodeIgniter. And she was like, well, okay. So I did the thing with CodeIgniter, and in 2 or 3 days I nailed it, which was pretty good going, right? That's pretty good going, So that was kind of good. But somewhere along the line, the IT manager was giving me these really, really bad vibes, really bad vibes, like the kind of office bully, And he started ignoring me and stuff like that. And then I remember I asked him, and I'm trying to be friendly, and I was like, hey, Nigel, probably not his real name. Like, hey, Nigel, is there anywhere around here where you can get something to eat, for lunch? Thinking maybe going somewhere nice, And his whole vibe was just ignoring me. And I was like, Nigel, hello. And I'm like, I was just saying, do you know anywhere? And he was like, there's a place down the road, but remember, your lunch break is only 45 minutes. You may not have time, or something like that. And after 2 days of putting up with crap like this, I just thought, you know what, Nige? I never said this, but I was thinking, I thought, I'm going to have your job. I am going to have your job, you know. This was it. And so I sent that energy out into the universe, which I don't like doing, right? But I was like, okay, you know, universe, the powers we are dealing with here, we know that they are real, and we know that we use them for good. But the guy's an asshole, let's get him out of here. So I went to work. Now, I couldn't just go, the guy's an asshole, fire him, right? The dude had interviewed me like 5 days ago or something. So I had to kind of be a bit more clever. And I noticed that he was sitting like this. And he used to sit like this all the time with headphones on. And I noticed a few times where the head honcho would say, hey, does anybody blah, blah, blah? And he'd be like this. And he'd kind of, and she'd go, hello, does anybody? And he'd kind of go, huh? Oh, yeah, it's in the head, yeah. And that was his vibe. And I thought, right, I am not going to take in headphones. I'm going to be the opposite. I'm not going to listen to any music or anything. I'm going to be totally present. And that's the vibe. I'm going to be the most present, on the ball guy ever. So I would be just sitting there and a squint microphone. I'd be sitting there and I'd be just like, okay, hey, did you have a nice lunch? Hey, did you? How are you? And how did that? Yep. Oh, good. Did the t-shirts arrive? Excellent. Okay. Oh, hello. Thank you. So I'm contrasting this dude, right? And then the other thing that I noticed was that he hardly ever spoke, you know, and nobody really knew what he was doing. And that was just the way it is. Some people like that. So I thought, right, I'll use that. So I thought, I'm going to go the opposite of that. So I started very consciously and deliberately saying things like, okay, that's me finished the checkout now. And as you can see, it looks fantastic. I'm now moving on to the contact form. I should have that in about half an hour. Thank you very much. So I was now like this guy's nemesis, and I'm just giving out the complete opposite vibrational energy from this guy, you know? And, you know, and at the same time, and like some Lord of the Sith, I'm privately thinking I'm going to have the fucker's job, you know? So, so anyway, after 2 days of that, she said to me one day, she says, David, could you wait in the canteen and I'll join you in 15 minutes, you know, or whatever. I headed to the canteen and I kind of had an idea what was going to come up, but I never really knew it would be as dramatic as this. So I'm waiting in the canteen, I look out and I see her practically dancing across the place coming towards me, the forecourt. And she came in and she says, I fired Nigel, you know? And so now I'm like, I had to put on my pretend shocked routine. So I'm kind of going, oh, fired Nigel? Oh no, not Nigel. He was such a great... Oh, what on earth happened? And meanwhile, in the back of my mind, there's a wee song going, I got the power. And I'm just thinking, you fucker. Less than 7 days ago, you were the dude interviewing me. How you like me now, you asshole? How you like me now? Fucking the whole team, fuck them all. Who needs them anyway? And so now I'm just like, yeah, you know, nailed the thing in 3 days. And I'm just like, this is it. And she starts, the very glamorous person who had clearly made a career out of flirting with rich middle-aged guys, if you ask me. She starts kind of going things like, you know, I'm so glad I met you. Oh, I'm so glad. I think this could be the beginning of a great partnership. Could we meet at the pub after and all that? Let's go there. And I'm starting to think, is she hitting on me or something? Like, what on earth, right? But... you know, she was living in a big castle and all that. She was really wealthy. Everybody was great. And I'm thinking, maybe this could be the start of something good. Yeah, okay, you know. And I'm thinking, this is it. This is it. Yes. Behold, people of the business community. Yes, my presence has bestowed upon you and within less than 7 days, the awesomeness is unquestionable. So I'm just like thinking, yeah, here we go. We headed out, and now I'm thinking to myself, right, this is going to be incredible. This is the beginning of something awesome. And then there's a part of this story that I never mentioned actually, which was around about day 1 or day 2, she took me to the side and she was like, you know, those agencies are really charging fortunes. Is there any chance you could maybe just don't mention what happened? And then that evolved to just tell them you don't work here. So she was trying to rip the agencies off, right? And what does a guy do? And as I was going in every morning, the agency would be phoning saying, look, you have not signed any contracts, you've not done anything, like what is going on, blah, 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 blah. And I'd be just fobbing them off, and they'd be saying, look, we are warning you that we will not pay unless you go through the hoops and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, forget it. Because by now I'm thinking I'm going to take over the Western economy here, you know. And basically, that was the vibe. So I finished the shop and I was just about to launch it. And as I was out in the corridor, just about to go in, she bumped into me. She was always running about from one meeting to another, but she bumped into me. And then she says, just to let you know, I'll be giving you 2,000 this month, and then 2,000 the following months, all the way up to Christmas, and then we'll see how we feel after that. And I was like, what? She says, well, you know, 2,000, right? That's a reasonable wage. And I said, are you kidding? The thing was advertised at like, you know, whatever, hundreds and hundreds per day. What's this 2,000 rubbish? The thing was clear. And she was like, yeah, but that was with the agency and we're not with the agency now. And I was like, hang on a second. I've just replaced your entire team. Look at the amount of money. I've taken this project that you've been struggling with for months, that was on its ass, and I've just got the whole thing nailed, saving you fortunes. I'm the dude that saved the day. You don't even have a team. I'm the dude doing it all. It's all me. I am the alpha and the omega. You do not mess with my wage, you know? And then she starts going pure hysterical and shouting and all that. And she went, and she shouted. And it's interesting to me how certain types, I'm not going sexist, but there's certain types of females that are so quick to go hysterical. So she goes all hysterical and goes and opens the door and sits on her desk, says, this is a disgrace and blah, blah. And I'm standing at the door and I'm saying, look, the advert was very clear. It was going to be blankety blank. And she was like, yeah, but I've got investors and they're running out of money and blah, blah, blah. And I said, nevertheless, a deal is a deal. You cannot move the goalposts. That is a terrible philosophy. You need to change your philosophy, you know. And she said, oh yeah, why is that? And I said, because if you're not careful, then someday you're going to end up in a big giant office all on your own. And then I shut the door and I walked. And I thought this was poetic because she was in a big giant office all on her own. All of the team had gone, everybody had gone, the project was gone, business was fucked, the whole thing was gone. But as I'm going down the stairs, of course, I bump into Derek. The world's most overqualified techie guy. And I said, Derek, I have wonderful news. We're going home. And he's like, what? I was like, relax, I'll tell you about it on the way home. So we headed home. I told Derek, we had a laugh. Everybody had a laugh. And that was that. Funnily enough, a few months later, they did launch the site. It wasn't me, and they got all of the calendars and all that out. And it was the laughing stock of the press, you know. It's like, it was just thousands of people all going, look at this. And it was all, the whole thing was ridiculous anyway. So that is what happened when I landed the agency gig. Now, it is time for David's final thought. I love this little story, even though it may not be some huge company or something. It kind of makes me feel good, but the real takeaway actually is something like this. We've all watched shows on TV like Dragon's Den, and you see some IT guy comes up, or a web developer, and says, hey, I built this website. And we've all seen it where the rich kind of investor says, why should I hire you? I have an entire legion of IT staff who can just do that themselves. And on Dragon's Den, shows like that, you'll see the developer goes, oh, and they hide and they cower away. Well, listen up, people, and listen good. Because I would love Peter Jones to ask me that question. Because I would say to him what I'm about to say to you. The Lone Ranger is always more nimble and more adaptive and more cunning than the team. Always, always, always. The Lone Ranger developer, that character who works alone, always gets things done more quickly than the team every single time. It is the Lone Ranger that you want to be. You should become the Lone Ranger.